Good morning. Just talking about coping skills for unusual behaviors, or maybe even like just it just. Alright. So someone pointed out that my sarcasm levels were really high yesterday, but just like people do insane shit, and like, oh, it's got to deal with it and stuff like that. But like, yeah. But sometimes, like, I don't see why you just can't respond to it. So, I was thinking about those responses. Oh, man. Talking to herself. Singing to herself. Poor old thing. Too much skooma. There's people that when they want to talk to you, they'll get right up against you, like kissing distance. And I had this response, and I didn't realize, in my mind, I'm like, well, I discovered something really good. But it turned out this other guy had the same thing. It's like, you take a step back, and they're already really close to you, like too close to you. That's why you've taken a step back. But you leave 1 foot forward. So then they want to take a step forward because you just take a step back, and they need to be really up against you. And then so they step on your foot. And then I added on top of that, suddenly now, like, they're trying to tell me a story about their uncle or something like that. Now I just start talking about my foot. Like, ow, that really hurt. Like, oh, sorry, anyway. So, my uncle, I'm like, no, I actually, like, you came down right on my toe. Like, oh man, well, you okay? I'm like, I don't know, actually. I like the last time we talked, actually, you stepped on my foot. Oh, I'm really sorry about that. I'm like, that's just weird. It's happened twice. Like, no, wait a minute. You've done this a couple times. Like the time before that, I remember you came over. We were over there, and you stepped on my foot again. Like, well, maybe you should be careful about where you put your feet. I'm like, my feet are right under me. Like, man, I think, like, well, anyway, my uncle's like, no, I think I need to go check my foot, actually. Like, it's starting to throb. Then you walk off. And so I go to the extreme. What was another one? Oh, you just put something in between you. Like, literally, I had someone try to, like, I moved like a rolling chair in between us. Like, I moved around the rolling chair, and they tried to get around the rolling chair, and I just kind of rolled it between us. And then they literally, like, tried to reach out to grab a hold of the chair so they could move the chair. And I pulled the seat so that they couldn't get their hands on the backrest. And they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing's wrong. What's wrong with you? I'm like, are you trying to talk to me, right? And they're like, yeah. But see, like, they weren't talking to me because first they needed to get the chair out of the way before they could talk to me. And I'm like, well, I could hear you fine. He's like, well, I don't understand what's the matter. And I'm like, nothing's the matter. It seems like you're wanting to talk to me, but now you're not talking. He's like, well, like he wants to say, like, well, I need to move that chair out of the way, but I've already said I could hear you fine. Really, truly, you just don't need to be right up against somebody to talk to them. But, like, they also like to touch it too. It's another one. Oh, people that bump your shoulder, that shoulder check you, like, I don't know what that's about, because, like, I just don't know what it's about. It's other than just trying to antagonize other people. I know people. There's people out there that love that they're dialed in for that kind of thing. So what I do with those people, like, and it's not just anybody or everybody is walking through a crowded area, something like that. It's that person that bumps your shoulder and says, oh, I didn't see you. I raise up my arm to, like, adjust my hat or scratch my head or something like that, adjust my glasses, and I get my elbow up, adjust your collar, like, scratch your back. And so in order to bump your shoulder, their face is going to have to hit your elbow, and suddenly they're like, oh, they did see you, because they don't want an elbow in the face. Now I was thinking the other thing, they're there are people who like to annoy other people. Like when Trump was president, this one guy would bring a Trump hat to work, and he wouldn't wear it at work, but he would leave it to where people could see it, and he would sometimes move it. And surprisingly enough, if you were Mexican, he would move it. He would move it depending on where you were working. So as you were working, you would see this hat. So it's just to antagonize people, because like I could give a laundry list of the things that this guy would do to antagonize other folks. Which is, I think my sarcasm of yesterday is a coping mechanism for dealing with all these people that behave in just this wide variety of weird ways that involve people to have to do other things, extra things, because they're there now. I'm here now, so everyone needs to change their behavior. And I'm like, okay, I'll change my behavior, becoming super sarcastic, whipping my elbows up. Anyway, so there's a few people that are just like that guy. They're just serial annoyers. And so what I do is tell them things that annoy me. And then they get excited, like, oh, I hit pay dirt. And so they start doing those things obsessively. And but they're like a dog with a treat. Like, you don't have to give your dog a treat every single time. If you give your dog a treat like once every 20 times, your dog will be so excited. So this person will do this annoying thing like 20 times. And like, 20, 30 times I'll go like, oh, who tilted all these, the wall hangings? Who tilted them? I got to go around straightening them. Oh, I hate when there's something hanging on a wall and it's crooked. And they're like, so they'll do it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and all I need to do is say something about it 10 times to let them play. But it's so much better. I've just tried to, in the past, I've just tried to ignore those people and stay on the down low and try not to bite. But they're good at it. It's like people who insult other people are almost psychic when it comes to picking out people's insecurities and stuff like that. And so you have to give them, I believe that you have to give them something that they think is a tool to use against you, because then they think they're clever and they figured it out, and they'd have to rethink their cleverness to realize that they were being manipulated. And they're not the type of people prone to deep reflection. So you just give them a little task to do. Oh, this will annoy me, and off they go. It'll take them years to realize you don't really care about the wall hangings being straight. Oh, jeez. So it's funny. It's like the coping mechanisms I have to deal with these people that have these kind of behaviors, and I realize that that's their coping mechanisms too. Like, I knew a guy that used to start a fight at work all the time. Fights at work all the time. And one day he said, I saw him, and he said, I'm heading to work, I've only had 3 hours sleep. And I said, geez, that's going to be tough. And I saw him later. I'm like, how'd work go? And he's like, I went really well, man. I just fought with my boss first thing in the morning. I was so angry. I just powered through the whole day. And I'm like, well, that sucks that you fought with your boss. He's like, no, it's what I needed in order to stay awake. And I was like, what? See, so he literally started a fight with his boss, and he got fired eventually. So you can stay awake. And it's the people that nitpick you or are probably crazy bored at work or whatever. They're just trying to find something that helps them cope. And frankly, my coping mechanism is trying to not devote too much of my my thinking and my attention to work. Just do your job, get done, punch out, go home. then pay attention. You know, like, not, I mean, that's do a good job. Like, you don't want to go there. You don't want to not pay attention at work, of course. You get hurt and screw things up. But when people respond in such a way that, like, act in such a way that you feel that you need to respond to them, like they're trying to talk to you and get, like, so close to your face, it's like trying to kiss. Oh, I used to wear that big brim hat. It's not even big brim. It's like 3.5 inches or something like that. It comes out like that far. People used to hit their face on it all the time, and they'd complain about it. I'm like, your face doesn't need to be right up against mine. Like, you know, like, you could stand back and talk to me, but that's not what they want, of course. But I thought it was hilarious that they would complain about my hat hitting their face. Bulk. Like, just keep your head away from my head. Like, we're not talking through vibrations. You don't need to rest your noggin against my noggin. Oh, man. Remind me of this one lady that said she had, what was it? Basically sensitivity to smells or chemicals or something like that. It was a chemical-free workplace, it said on the front door. And I walk in, and she, like, stopped me as I walk in. She's like, no, this is a chemical-free workplace. I can smell detergent on your clothing. And I'm like, I wash my clothing with baking soda. And she's like, and she started running down the laundry list. She's like, well, you wear cologne? I'm like, no, I don't wear cologne. And she's like, well, it's your deodorant. And then I'm like, no, I use a salt crystal. And so she ran through all the things that could possibly be. And she's like, okay, come on up. So she come on up. So she said she could smell me from the door. And then once she ran me through this laundry list, but literally a laundry list of scents I might have on me. And I'm like, no, I don't have any of that. She's like, okay, come up forward. And I'm like, no, you just told me you could smell me from like 20 feet away. She's like, well, I thought I could, but maybe it was just like a breeze coming through the door. I'm like, no, I think I'll just leave your stuff right out here by the door. She's like, no, you can bring it over here. I'm like, no, it's okay. You could walk over and get it. Like, I'm just going to just put the stuff down. I'm going to get out of here right away so you don't have to smell me anymore. And then, like, the next time I came in, I was delivering stuff. Next time I came in to deliver stuff, I'm like, well, do you want me to come forward and hand this to you, or can you smell me? She's like, come on. You know, I'm sure sensitivity like that is a real thing, but, like, in her case, that definitely was not. And in my case, that was definitely not a real thing.